too late.
There we are. There we are. Good morning. Welcome to Indy Boomer Magazine. I'm Mary Pat McKee. I publish a magazine called Indy Boomer, and I'm sitting here this morning with Wesley Young from Senior Solutions Consulting, which we have sat here and talked many times and had great conversations, and we've got a great topic for today as well. Before we get started, though, I wanted to point out that on the screen is the September issue of Indy Boomer, and that is our friend Mitch Daniels. And you can pick that up at any Kroger store in the Indianapolis and all the surrounding counties now. We're in all the surrounding counties. We are also very grateful to Noblesville Trophy and Logan Street Signs and Banners for the opportunity to be able to sit here and discuss. This morning is going to be about Miller's Trust, which I said to Wesley, what is that? And I said, no, stop. Tell us, tell everybody what that is. So, well, let's back up just a minute because people may not remember. What does Senior Solutions Consulting do?
Yeah, Senior Solutions is a company. We were going into our 18th year, and we do Medicaid and veterans benefits. We focus on the area of Medicaid that pays for nursing homes and some assisted living.
Right.
And then one veterans program called Aid and Attendance that pays for in-home care, assisted living, and nursing homes. So just those two areas.
Right. If anybody is listening or the viewership today, if you've served any time in the military, wartime or not, it's worth a phone call to your company, to Senior Solutions Consulting, to find out if there's possible money. I've sent several people to you, and they're like just stunned that they are eligible for money that nobody knows about. It's a very well kept secret. So, and the Medicare, oh my goodness, that's so confusing. You have to call somebody to find out how to deal with all of that.
Job security.
Job security, that's for sure. But so you have here Miller's Trust. I don't even have a clue. What is that about?
Yeah, the Miller's Trust is a new requirement that Medicaid has brought forth back in 2014. Medicaid is a lot of things. It's food stamps, it's Women, Infants, and Children program, TANF, cash assistance, Medicaid waiver, and Medicaid for nursing homes.
Okay.
All through the Family Social Services Agency, and there's probably a few that I never heard of or don't deal with, but Medicaid does a lot of things here in Indiana.
Sure.
So what happened is back, up until about 2014, when if you walked into the Medicaid office and pulled a number and they called your number and said next, and you said, oh, I'm here for food stamps, and you went back to talk to somebody, well, they had to figure out the whole qualification program for food stamps and ask you all those questions and run it through the computer.
Insane.
And the next person says, I'm here for cash assistance, and they had to figure out that program and open it up and put you through. So it got to be complicated for them, too many points of entry and all that. So they kind of took all the programs and harnessed them together.
Really?
And they said, okay, we just want one qualification program for all the programs.
Did that work well?
Well, food stamps and nursing home Medicaid have nothing to do with each other.
They're one end of the spectrum to the other.
Right. So some good things floated up to the Medicaid side, and some bad things floated up to the Medicaid. And when I say Medicaid, I mean nursing home Medicaid. So that's what I do. So I guess the good thing is it helps with the office visit and all of that, and it's easier for the staff to handle your Medicaid application, whatever you're doing. But one of the positives, and start out on a positive note, is that if a spouse of a nursing home applicant has an IRA or 401k or 403b or some kind of qualified retirement money, that money is no longer countable.
Really?
Yeah, so I had a client.
That started in 2014?
Yeah, so that's a new thing, and
Wow.
and that's how Medicaid's gotten better. Because Medicaid gets better. I've yet to see it get worse in my 17 years. It's gotten better, except for a couple of these nuisance things that we have to do.
Right.
So I had a client about a year and a half ago. She was retired from Lilly. She had about $30,000 in the bank and a $500,000 IRA from Lilly. And then her husband, she was 69. Her husband was 72 or 3, and it was kind of heavy and had neuropathy and was falling and had issues. And she kept him home as long as she could and said, well, I can't keep him home anymore. I can't lift him, he's falling.
Right.
I can't take care of him 24/7. Right.
Yeah.
So she wanted to put him in a facility. Well, she said, I can't afford $7,000 a month plus my $2,000 a month to live. That's $9,000 a month. She goes, I don't make that in retirement.
Well, you'll be through your money in no time.
Right. Yeah. So, and when you pull money out of an IRA, you got to pay Uncle Sam part of it, and then you got to pay for the care for the other part of it. And then she's thinking, okay, well, in this many months, at that rate,
Yeah.
he's eating up all my money. He's going to pass away, and then what am I going to do for the next 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, the rules are in your favor in spousal cases. So we basically were able to.
Because she had most of the money in the IRA.
Yeah, she kind of pushed that IRA across the table and said, well, here's the reason I won't get Medicaid, because I have this
right.
$500,000 IRA.
Right.
So we said, well, Medicaid is now exempting that. So now all we had to deal with was her $30,000, which we were easily able to push over to her. Mm-hmm. We got him on Medicaid first of the next month, and I showed the IRA to Medicaid, and they're like, fine, no big deal.
That's
and what's
unbelievable.
next? So she could not believe that we were able to get her help and protect her IRA money for her to live on for the next 25 years, because at 69, 70 years old, she's going to need it. So that was a good thing that came up. One of the things that came up that wasn't so great was the need for a Miller's Trust.
Who is Miller?
Miller was an attorney who kind of came up with this idea. So, to get food stamps in Indiana, mm-hmm. and that's kind of, I think, where it came up from. To get food stamps in Indiana, if you make more than $735 a month, you don't qualify.
Wow. How would you possibly even live on $735?
That's Indiana poverty level.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's really low.
So over in, I think it was Missouri, I don't remember all the details in the history, but I think it was in Missouri, an attorney named Miller had a client who said, I make $736. I'll use Indiana's today's numbers.
And he was $1 over.
And he made, $736 or $7 or $8. He said, I'm just as hungry as the guy who makes $734, and he's getting food stamps. We got to draw the line somewhere.
Right.
Right?
I guess.
So the attorney said, well, what if we took $5 of his income and diverted it into an account like an HSA or an MSA, health savings account, or medical savings account. People kind of know what that is. Mm-hmm. And we put that in there, and only that money was to be used for health care costs, and if you passed away, it goes back to the state to pay for your Medicaid services you receive.
Okay.
Right? Unless you use it on health care costs.
Not a bad idea.
So it went all the way up through all the courts, and the court said, yeah, that makes sense. We can qualify this guy under
this. So you could make $780 as long as you got it back down to $735.
Or $734.
Or $734.
Yeah, just under.
Okay.
But those dollars that you put into that bucket had to be used for health care costs, and then had to be paid back to the state at your death, if there were any left, to recoup Medicaid, because you made too much. Mm-hmm. So that's fine. It works well. Mm-hmm. Well, when they squished all those rules together in 2014, the powers that be in Indiana tried to get them to chop it out of nursing home Medicaid, because in nursing home Medicaid, whatever your income is, mm-hmm. be it $5,000 a month or $600 a month, you keep $52, right, for yourself.
Right. And
you pay your health insurance premiums, because they want Medicare to help defray the cost before Medicaid picks up the difference.
Okay.
And the rest of your money goes to the nursing home. So if you make $5,000 a month, you're going to owe $4,800 to the nursing home. That's your patient liability. That's what you can afford to pay, and Medicaid pays the rest.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter how much you make. Well, they pegged the number at 3 times the poverty level, $2,205. Okay. So if you make more than $2,205, you don't qualify for Indiana Medicaid, because you make too much. Now, it doesn't matter, because if I make $5,000 a month, I owe about $4,800 to the nursing home anyway. If I make $600 a month, I owe about $400 to the nursing home anyway.
Right.
I keep my $52, I pay my health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really matter that I don't do or don't qualify income-wise, because I just owe all my income, right? I mean, that's just the way it is.
To live there. To live in a nursing home.
In a nursing home, because you pay what you can afford to pay, right? They give you $1.50 a day or $52 to spend on yourself for haircuts mm-hmm. and Pringles, right? Yeah. So we have to do a Miller's Trust. So if a client makes, most men, because of the era of the folks who are 85 and 90 years old, they make a Social Security of $1,500 and a pension of $1,200, and they make $2,700 a month, mm-hmm. Give or take, Indiana residents, and some of the females do as well, because they might have gotten their husband's pension, or they have their own pension, or whatever it is. People start to make more and more money, just because everybody does as you get older. So if you make $2,500 a month, you make $300, $295 too much. Mm-hmm. So we have to do this Miller's Trust, right? So it's a 3-page trust that Medicaid put together that we just fill out, kind of fill in the blanks.
So are you taking the difference with the Miller Trust?
So you have to take enough to get you under $2,205. So I usually take about $400 or $500, because if Social Security gets a small increase, I don't want to have to go back and readjust it for $8. So if you're $300 over, I'll probably take $500 And so what'll happen is you have to go to the bank.
Uh-huh.
You have to set up a new checking account owned by the Miller's Trust. And the minute you walk into a bank and you say the word trust, everybody starts running and calling attorneys at the bank, and it's
They don't want to do it.
well, they freak out because you say the word trust and everybody's like, So I always accompany my clients to the bank and kind of put the fire out and say, look, we just want a checking account.
Okay.
Who owns it? This little piece of paper.
So you just put that on like the name of the like.
Well, it's called the Mr. Smith Qualified Income Trust.
Okay.
Or in parentheses.
Because I know we had one from my parents, and it did say trust on the name of.
Yeah, that's who
the
owns
check.
the bank account.
Right.
So Harry H. Smith Qualified Income Trust is the name of the account, and you might be the trustee as the daughter. Whoever normally was the POA is normally the trustee.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Could be the spouse.
They didn't trust me.
Right.
No, I'm
Not
just-
trustee with a Y. Trustee with two E's.
I know.
So, and then you name a backup. So, we have to go set up a checking account. Of course, the bank, you have to run if usually it's signed by a POA, and you have to run that through legal, and you have to run the trust through legal, and then you have to come back, and it's very confusing for an 86-year-old spouse.
It'd be confusing for this 58-year-old.
Exactly. So, then we have to set up an automatic transfer so that if we take $500, we have to say it's from your pension or from your Social Security or some source.
Right.
We don't ever take all of your income because I'd really rather have you as the POA child having access to the other money to do whatever you want with and not having it being controlled for health costs only out of the Miller's
Right.
Trust.
So if they do need other things.
Yeah, so we set up a checking account. We have an automatic draft transfer set up so that if your Social Security hits on the 3rd, on about the 8th, we have them pull over $500 in this scenario.
Okay.
Because in our scenario, a guy makes $2,400 and we got to get him down to $2,100.
Right.
So we have to show proof of the Miller's Trust. We have to show proof of the automatic transfer each month.
Mm-hmm.
We have to show proof of the deposit. Then normally I have my client open it up with $25 just as a placeholder to keep the account open.
Right.
Because once it's transferred over, like I said, you still owe $2,800 a month to the nursing home, right?
Right.
Because it's all your income less your $52 and that. So what I tell my clients usually, it's like, okay, your bill is $10. I'm going to give you two $5 bills. You're going to put one in one pocket, your checking account, one in your other pocket, the new Miller's Trust account, and then you're going to turn around and you're going to pay $10. It doesn't affect the cost of what you owe the nursing home. That has never changed because that's a factor of your income.
Is that where this money goes?
So the excess money goes into the Miller's Trust checking account.
Okay.
Well, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is the minute it hits in there, usually you owe your nursing home bill by the 10th of the month, right? Your
Okay.
patient liability is due to the
Okay.
nursing home by the 10th. So take that $500 that got pulled over into this account, write a check to the nursing home for $500, leaving the $25 in there just to keep the account open.
Right.
Then take your other checking account and write a check for
The difference?
the difference of what you owe to the nursing home. Like I said, pull $5 out of one pocket, pull $5 out of the other, and pay the nursing home.
So that is crazy.
So then you pull the other, you write a check from the Miller's Trust to get it back out. You write a check from your checking account to make up the, $2,800 you owe the nursing home, and then you pay them two checks. You still owe them the same amount of money as you did before you needed a Miller's Trust. It's just now I have to deviate to a checking account, pay out of that, and use this. Because the Miller's Trust says that if you die, when, not if, when.
Yeah, we all
In
know.
18 years I keep saying if.
Yeah.
When you die, whatever's left in that account goes back to Medicaid to reimburse them. Well, if you leave $25 in there and you 500 goes in
Then
and you spend
25 is
$5,
all they're going to get.
then I say happily write them a check for $25 and thank them for their services.
Right.
So, does it make sense? No. Is it necessary? Yes. We just have to do it. So I always kind of say, this is something that makes no sense, and here's how it works. I give you $10, put 5 in each pocket, turn around, pay your bill for $10. It's just the way you have to do it.
How long has this been around?
Since about 14 when
in 14.
because it
when
made sense under food stamps because it got you eligible.
Right.
Under Medicaid, it doesn't. You're already eligible because you already owe all your income anyway. Now, are you eligible? No, because you make more than $2,500. This makes you eligible, but it makes no sense.
But okay, answer me, and I know we only have a couple minutes left, but if like for instance, my folks were on private pay,
Right.
and then my brother said we spent them down to Medicaid.
Under $2,000 to qualify for Medicaid and savings.
So is that, you would need something like this?
You only need this once you ask Medicaid to pay your bill or go on or qualify or go on to Medicaid.
Okay, is that
when
the
you're
same
spending-
thing that I'm talking about when we spent down?
When
or
you're
was
spending
spent
down, you're just literally taking your assets and your income each month and paying the bill. And normally, with most Hoosiers, the savings is depleted. And then once you're once you end a month with under $2,000, and meet a few other requirements, being in a nursing home bed and not gifting and other things, then you would qualify for Medicaid to help pay your bills.
Okay.
But this is just a funny thing that kind of floated out of the merger of all the programs to make things easier. It just requires me taking a spouse to the bank and them being nervous and the bank guy going, well, yeah, I've heard of them, but we've never done it. Let me call legal and, okay, drop the stuff off and come back in 5 days once legal's looked at it. And my 86-year-old spouse is nervous, and she's like, what are we doing? And I'm like, well, then they're going to pull some money over, and then I have to have proof of all that to show Medicaid. And
right.
To do what? To pay the same $2,800 that we would have paid them had we not had this. But you don't need an attorney to do it.
Okay.
We don't charge any extra to do it for you. I use Medicaid's version of it so that they don't have to run it through their legal department.
You wouldn't want to confuse them.
Usually the Medicaid applicant is the settlor, and a settlor is a legal term. I'm not an attorney. I say settlor is the setter-upper. That's the person who set it up. They're also the
because that doesn't sound like a legal term.
No, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the primary beneficiary is the same applicant because the money is used for their care to pay the nursing home as their patient liability.
Yeah.
And then you have an initial trustee, which was you or whoever the loyal, trustworthy, stable person is to handle it.
Yeah.
And then any funds that don't go back to the state are paid back to a designated beneficiary of the family of the estate. Now, if Medicaid pays $32,000 for you to be in the nursing home for a couple of years, there probably isn't going to be that much left in here to compensate that, to have a balance left to pay back to the family.
Right.
And my goal is if we put in $25 to set up the account, and you put in $500 and pull it back out, then the only thing left is $25. Well, write it to the state of Indiana and thank them for their help. So the Miller's Trust is just a funny little tool that we have to use to gain Medicaid eligibility in Indiana.
Well, the bottom line is I'm so confused. No, I get what you're saying, and I guess the topic I want for next time is what's the difference, because we took a lot of my folks' money and put it in trust, not a Miller's
To qualify.
Trust. To get them, to get the
That's
money
a whole different thing,
away.
yeah.
So, all right, well, we have a topic for next time.
Yes.
We always have a
raise your hand
topic.
if you understood.
Yeah.
I don't see any hands.
I don't
Okay.
either. It's hard. So the bottom line is there's a phone number on the screen there I would call at. But seriously, if you are considering going into retirement communities or nursing home care or anything like that, you really need to give Wes and his team a call. Like I said, I know I can testify that they have helped several people that I know and for benefits they would have not otherwise received.
Yeah, let us handle it for you.
Yeah.
Kind of like a CPA does your taxes. You give them a trash
Yeah.
bag full of stuff, and you say, "I'll come back to sign it."
Yeah,
We'll do that for you and take care of it. You've got enough to deal with your parent or your loved one.
believe me.
Let us handle this side of it.
Exactly. That's so true. All right. Well, thank you, Wesley, for coming. Real quick, there is the January. I'm working on November. I'm so confused. That is September. That is Mitch Daniels, and we were so happy to have him give us some of his valuable time to be on the magazine. There's a great story about him. You can pick it up at any Kroger store in Indianapolis and the surrounding counties. And we appreciate you all watching today and look for us soon. Thank you.